A team of commandos on a mission in a Central American jungle find themselves hunted by an extraterrestrial warrior. Predator is up next on Inside Movies. Hey guys, welcome to Inside Movies. Today I'm joined by GMB CHOMICHUK, writer, illustrator, all-around good dude, and Andrew Buckley, novelist and also equally good dude. Thanks so much for being on the show, guys. Today we're talking Predator.
It's good we're not talking Highlander because there can only be one good dude if we were doing Highlander. But since we're doing Predator and it's a buddy film, we can all be good dudes.
Yeah, there's a team. It's okay.
It's a team. Yeah.
Before we get into the Predator review, let's plug one of our own projects. Greg, you've got this is an action horror kind of vibe. You've got The Eye Collector out from Heavy Metal. Can you tell us really quickly, what is this awesome book about?
The Eye Collector out from Heavy Metal is the story of a dream parasite that convinces two parents to trade parts of their children for the dreams that they want fulfilled. It's all ages feel good, real huggy, pleasant. No, it is a horror book. If you know me from Dragon Nanny or Cassian Tonk, it's not one of those. It's the other side of me, the blood-curdling side of me that made Eye Collector.
So Eye Collector is from Heavy Metal, and it's in Previews Magazine nowish, and so people can go into their local comic book store and ask them to bring that book in?
I believe that is true, yeah, but they can also get it directly from the Heavy Metal website, and all 5 issues are finished, so they'll be coming out.
Let's get into the Predator. I love this movie, and I want to hear what you guys think is the good in the Predator.
My good list is long. My dislike list has nothing on it except for nothing, absolutely nothing is all I wrote under dislike. So it's
so I'll fill in the dislike category later, but basically from the stick around line, the movie is amazing. I love so let's talk from there, and I'll save all my other stuff for the bad. How the alien moves is so wonderful. And I found out just recently, I'm actually today years old, when I figured out how they made this 8.5 foot tall creature moves so effortlessly through the jungle. They had him on a pulley with a counterweight so that he could leap and jump and move lithely through the jungle, because there's an enormous actor and and 200 pounds. The suit weighed 200 pounds. So they had to counterweight him. And man, he's amazing.
Yeah, the guy was 7'2". Peter Hall, I think is his name.
Peter Hall, yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. But even then, the suit was massive. But did you know that he wasn't the first dude in the Predator suit?
Yes, any Predator fan knows.
Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Yeah,
I didn't know that until today.
You didn't know that?
I had no idea. Jean-Claude Van Damme worked on the film for 2 days and hated the fact that no one was gonna see his beautiful face, and it looked too unnatural. It was just him kind of jumping around in a very light, not cool looking suit. Plus, Jean-Claude Van Damme he's not that tall, so it didn't look good.
I would like to see the Predator do the splits.
I'd love to see the
split
footage
Predator
of that.
would have been good. He had like a duck head. I don't know if you saw the original designs. The original design
weird.
Is like Jean-Claude Van Damme wearing a big black duck's head.
Totally.
He was going to hunt Arnold Schwarzenegger in the woods. I'm glad that didn't work out. That's all I have to say about that.
That was like Stan Winston's makeup, right? The legend. And man, the costume design for the Predator is so cool. Like, both with the armor on, and then when he takes it off and he's got the little
the mandibles.
Yeah.
James Cameron is given his shared credit for the mandibles idea, apparently.
Weird.
He was sitting around because him and Stan Winston spent a lot of time at the studio together, and he was just talking about that. And if you think about the face hugger in Aliens,
yeah, I guess.
Right? You just
got that
put
weird
him
still
in his face, and you got kind of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was so good. The team coming together. Like, I remember watching this as a kid. Actually, I remember my dad terrifying me by showing me this when I was like 9, and not really telling me what it was about. But then I saw Arnie, and I was like, oh, well, it's going to be like an action movie where he shoots a bunch of shit. And then, there's this big creature that's, filleting people. It got a little creepy at that point for my 9-year-old self. But I still love this movie because the whole crack team of commandos getting together and Carl Weathers looking all, massive and ridiculously buff. And like, everyone looked so cool. Jesse Ventura. Oh, man. It was such a great...
To young Gregory, it was like A-team murder porn.
It totally was. You're right. That's why I loved it.
Right down to the cigar. Like, it totally. Everything about them being hunted, the alpha predator, alpha male, all that stuff, getting turned on its head was actually kind of a halfway clever indictment of toxic masculinity from a time when no one really even addressed that.
It's true, and only the girl survived. And Arnie, I suppose. But
yeah, Dutch does too. I like the handshake though, like between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. Like that's just so epic. That moment, I love that.
Pushing too many pencils.
Son of a bitch.
So apocryphally, Carl Weathers would only exercise when no one was around, and he claimed to the other actors that this is how I look. I don't have to work out. And so he would get up super early and stay up super late to do his exercising because he just wanted to like come across as being a perfect specimen.
Did you hear about the bet between Jesse Ventura and Arnie about the arm size? The wardrobe department told Jesse Ventura that he had bigger arms than Arnold Schwarzenegger. So Jesse made the bet to have them measured, but Arnie had actually told the wardrobe department to tell Jesse Ventura that Jesse had bigger arms, so he would make the bet, and then he lost him.
And then lose.
Yeah, pretty great. Arnie's funny.
So one of the great things about this movie, one of the things I like so much about it, is the way in which the on-set effect of the sweat and the grime and the leeches and the jungle is not a set. They are just in a shitty jungle. They're living out there, sweating and hating every second of it. And so that like leanness that you get from dropping all that water weight that they all get over the course of the film is actually like it shows up on screen that they are just in the freaking jungle, and it just adds so much to like, man, the realism of it is that they really are not having a good time and this giant monster is chasing them. It's perfect.
It was wicked. And did such a good job setting up the whole mythos. I mean, we've had lots of Predator movies since then. I don't think any of them really stacked up to the first one, though I did like the second one. I did enjoy Predator 2.
I like Predator 2 better. I know. It's blasphemy, but there's part of me that likes it better. Huh. Now, I'm not saying I don't love Predator. I mean, there's parts of Predator I don't love, but all the gore, all the like flipping off arms. First time I ever saw a greasy human severed arm on screen go flipping through the air while still shooting a gun. The young me was like, they must have killed that actor. Like, how else did they do that? There's no way, right? There's no way they did that for real, unless they did it for real.
I went actually to the filming location in Puerto Vallarta, and I went to where the waterfall was, and the helicopter was still there and stuff like that. And yeah, it's hot there. Yeah, no, it's just a thing you can do. It's like it's not even like hard. You just it is hot there, and the jungle's like really dense. And yeah, I get the like struggles that the actors were going through when they were there. Although there's like a little waterfall that you can slide down, and I did that, and I don't know if they did that, but it was good.
Another good thing about the movie is that the Predator. Help me out again, Andrew. The actor that played the Predator,
Peter Hall.
Peter Hall. He actually does appear in the film.
Yes, in the
helicopter at the end. And when I first saw this movie, I don't know how that trivia reached my friend Gary Grauman, who was the person that showed me the Predator for the first time on a VHS copy. But he's like, that's the Predator right there in the helicopter scene. And it wasn't until the modern era of the internet that I could substantiate this knowledge that he had, since the 80s. I basically thought he was lying the entire, until last week. I was pretty sure I was being gaslit by him, but it turns out that he's on there. So Jean-Claude Van Damme's complaint that he wouldn't get to be on screen, Not found it.
The cast is awesome though, right? Like the group of guys, Arnold and Carl Weathers and Jesse Ventura and Bill Duke and
Shane Black.
Shane Black, yeah.
Shane Black is great in it. They're all cartoon characters, essentially.
Very much so.
And I love it. I love it. They are each of them the like piled up collection, summation of every trope in action movies and military movies, just like compressed into all of these characters so that you know what they can do as soon as you see them on screen. Like as soon as they show up, you're like, oh, that's the big guy who's going to carry the hugest gun. Oh, that's the little smart guy. He's going to be quick. And he's going to like everything from all those other action movies just. So the wardrobe and the casting, I got to give them credit for making sure that you knew what they could do as soon as they got off that helicopter. I thought that was awesome.
I really appreciated that this is basically like 2 movies in one. It's like kind of like that Navy SEALs movie with like Charlie Sheen, where they've like just got to go into like a war zone and rescue some hostages and things like this. Yeah. But then it's got this whole other layer to it that is like really fun with like them being hunted. So you got kind of, it's almost like a nesting doll of movies, you know?
And it's subtle too. You got to consider these kinds of movies like Alien and Aliens, well, not Aliens, but Alien and Predator. The actual creatures are not really on screen that much. I think Predator was only on screen for like 8 minutes or something like that total in the movie. Like it's so well done because they do it all through like that infrared vision, so it's from his point of view, and they just build the creep factor until they finally reveal that it's this ugly looking motherfucker. But it's so well done throughout to really build you to that point that when you finally see him, it's like, oh my god, he is an ugly motherfucker, and you're right there with Arnie. It's pretty
and
cool.
I think Predator was one of the first movies to so it took the Spielberg Jaws methodology of like, we're going to hide the monster because if we show it to you, it probably is not going to be very good. So you just assume that they're going to hide it the whole time. Like when I was watching, I was like, well, okay, obviously they're going to hide it because they can't show me a real alien. And when he takes that mask off for the first time and there's a real alien under there and it's all fully articulated and it's sweating and it's talking and its eyes are blinking, you're like, oh shit. Like it just sells every other scene you saw previously so much more. One of my favorite scenes in this film, and one of my favorite scenes in any alien-related movie at all, sci-fi movie, is his first aid kit.
Oh yeah, that was better in the second one though.
It gets better in the second, but the like clamp, he's just gonna like clamp it shut. That's enough. I have this huge gaping wound. I'm just gonna put a clamp on it.
That's what a badass he is.
Yeah.
In the second one, he gets his hand chopped off and fixes it. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. On the Stan Winston like website, there's like a little thing about the reason why the Predator has that netting, that fish netting all over his body, is because in the heat of the jungle, all of the latex was deteriorating and falling apart. And so this was the way that they could hold it all together tightly and still have it look cool. Yeah, they used a red suit for the Predator. And then they filmed 2 takes, 2 passes. So they would do the shot with the actor in the red suit, and then they would do a wider shot without the actors. And then when they composited those 2 shots together, it would give you that mirrored effect, like you were seeing the jungle a little bit too big through the Predator.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, really clever use of like available technology for us, like. Hats off to Stan Winston Studios again for coming up with some great stuff. I have to think, and it's one of those are one of the moments where they must have planned it. Like you can't do 2 shots of every pass unless you know that the effect will work. So there's a lot of happy accidents in Predator that make it good, but the visual effect of him disappearing and reappearing is like a really thoughtful application of present day special effects, and man, does it ever work?
So I think we should shout out the director, John McTiernan. Pretty much one of the greatest action movie directors of all time. With this and Die Hard, like those, they're both pretty high on the list for sure. So I think he's great, and I don't think he's like gets enough respect. Like no one's hiring John McTiernan anymore, and it's like I think maybe he should get some more work.
Yeah, I think so.
Another thing that this movie doesn't really get, like, whenever there's a hunting kind of scene and someone's like setting booby traps and everything, we always refer to that as like a Home Alone type scene. Like when they do it in Equalizer, like, oh, Denzel Home Alone them. Well, didn't Macaulay Culkin like Dutch from Predator, the bad guys? Like, I don't think he's getting the respect for, like, you know, this
He's
sort of setup.
Dutching.
He's Dutching.
The moment in the film where, again, I was, as a young first-time viewer, the holy shit moment absolutely landed perfectly. I was the perfect test audience for them laying that booby trap, them building the montage. I love the MacGyver shit. So them building the montage, if it bleeds, you can kill it, whole part. And then it seems to fail. And just as he turns around, the trap goes off. I'm sure I squealed. I'm sure I did.
I do think this is like Arnie, like this is peak Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, this is after Commando, and he's just kind of at the height of his powers with just, he's super jacked, he's super charismatic, he's smoking his cigar, he's making the one-liners. I don't know. I think this might be Arnold Schwarzenegger's best movie.
It's up there.
It's pretty high.
It's up there.
I think it's either this or T2. And
yeah. Or maybe Kindergarten Cop, but you know, it depends on, I guess, your palate. Right. Or Last Action Hero, also a real stellar addition to the Schwarzenegger canon.
Yeah, he's doing some shit for sure.
Let's get into the bad. What didn't you guys like about The Predator?
Nothing. I loved all of it.
Old Gregory believes they all probably deserved it. Old Gregory watching that film recognizes now that what essentially the first, I don't know, like 30 minutes of the film is everything that the 80s was trying to teach us about how to be a man, toxic masculinity, talk trash to each other, flex your muscles, murder minorities, uphold your government even when they're wrong. All that stuff is like the first half hour of the movie. Make jokes at the expense of like poor people as you're mowing them down. All that shit is absolute garbage, and it's hard to watch today. That's what I said. After Stick Around and the Predator is hunting them now, you can just fast forward. You can just skip. When I watch it now,
no, you can't skip it. It's good. It's good, man. Like,
I would just skip it.
Yeah, you can't skip it.
That stuff is all garbage.
What? Come on. Carl Weathers sitting there all like covered in sweat being like, some damn fool accused you of being the best. Like, that's so cool.
It's He-Man cool. It's the way the He-Man cartoon, like when you're 10, you're like, He-Man's cool, right? Sure. But the cartoon is actually trash, right? It's like that. It's like that. Just because they're flexing doesn't give them substance, right?
That's a good point. Solid point.
The best delivery. The best part when you realize like all of these guys are cold-hearted murderers who deserve to be killed by this cold-blooded alien is when he says like, you know, he goes to his squad mate and he's like, I don't care who you are back in the world, but if you do that again, I'm going to bleed you real quiet and leave you here. Right. These guys are awful and they like murdering people. And when the alien comes after them, they're no better than him. And Dutch is probably no better than any of them. So they deserve it. I was cheering. The modern me was like, yeah, Predator, let's get rid of all this shit. We're better than this now.
But they did say that they don't take any mission and that they're, you know, this was a rescue mission. So that's why they were taking it. And like because they're kind of mercenaries, right? They're not really like,
they're lying to you, George.
Yeah, they're not
They're lying to you, as is proven by that scene, right? I'm going back to the text here. He tells him that he's going to murder him in cold blood if he breaks a stick again. What I didn't like about the Predator, aside from the aforementioned like soapbox of how perfect a person I must be in order to criticize what's wrong with them as people, aside from that, I was convinced again, this Gary Grauman fellow I'm telling you from my past convinced me that when Predator 2 came out, it was going to be the story of the first team that gets killed by the Predator. So when they find the first special forces team that has been like strung up and meted up, so I have a lot of disappointment whenever I see them dead on screen because I never got to hear their story. And in this world of endless remakes and prequels, why did you make The Predator, which was trash, and not make the prequel where we saw that other team get strung up? That's what I
That's
want.
such a good idea. The
Right.
Rock should be on that team.
Oh yeah.
Well, they were supposed to make a sequel that was Concrete Jungle, which became Predator 2, but it was always supposed to be Dutch's brother or cousin or something. Was supposed to be the one that went toe to toe with the Predator in the city. And there's a novelization about it that's really, really good, and it actually feeds more of the mythos from the original movie than what the Danny Glover one did. But I still love Predator 2 for what it is.
Danny Glover's so good. We got to do Predator 2. If you promise me to do Predator 2, I will not waste all of our recording time talking about it.
Right. It's coming up.
Right.
Um,
Right. So you don't dislike anything about this movie? Henry?
Nothing about this movie. This movie is perfect. I have nothing bad to say about it.
Like, what are you going to complain about? Like, that.
What is the
I'm
jungle
a villain
too?
here?
Is the jungle too luscious? I mean, do they all look too jacked? I mean, what's your problem, Greg? Come on.
I'm the villain in this because I don't like parts of it.
You are. I vilified you. I'm sorry.
Vilified me. Oh my god. Okay, so you guys unabashedly love this movie.
Yes.
No,
You're
there's a
allowed
few
to.
like grown-worthy things. Like, I do think like the stuff with Billy and like he's like the almost like shaman, like he can smell it in the air and this sort of bullshit is it's not great. It doesn't hold up anymore, right? Like that stuff isn't really cool, and it doesn't even make sense. Like they would maybe do those things in like a Western. But to do it in like a modern day setting, it's like really like cartoonish, like you said earlier.
Yeah, they're all like cartoon characters. So that's one of the things I don't like about it.
So if I do have to say something negative, is like I would have liked to seen a bit more action from like some of the guys, like Jesse Ventura. I felt like he wasn't in it enough. I would have liked more fighting or something, like some sort of like scuffle between him and the Predator. And Bill Duke, I think, dies off screen, and Billy. So like I would have liked a little bit more, but at the same time, they're hiding the monster, which builds the suspense. So I understand why they did it, but still, I wanted more. I like this movie so much, I wanted more of it. So that would be my one complaint, I guess.
Which I think is what we got in Predator 2. I think they made up for that because you saw a lot of. Well,
Yeah,
you already knew the Predator, so you already knew what was going to happen. So they played it up with all the gangs versus him and shit. It was awesome.
So let's go into the skinny. What are your guys' final grades on the Predator?
Go ahead,
This
Greg.
movie gets a A+ rating in toxic masculinity for the first half hour, and an A+ rating for awesome alien murder fest for the last 75% of the film.
Okay. I gave it an A+ overall, or 4 mandibles out of 4, or 4 spines and skulls ripped out of 4 spines and skulls ripped out, or whatever you want to give it. But I give it a top mark.
Me too. I guess A+, A for not for Alien.
No,
not for Alien. Yeah, I love this movie. It's great, man. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's cheesy one-liners. It's everything that you love about 80s action movies.
Totally.
Right here. So
You'd have to give it a P+ for Predator.
P pro.
Give it a letter rating.
It's like what's it, like a AAA? Like it's like some grade A beef right here.
Totally.
No, that's Dutch.
So that'll do it for another episode of Inside Movies. I've linked all of our social media handles. So if you want to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever we're at, those are in the description. And the Eye Collector is available through Heavy Metal. And I've linked that book in the description of this video. So go ahead and click that link and go check out Greg's new book, The Eye Collector. Until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Peace.